Hello everyone, this is part 39 of What If Naruto Was in Rosario Vampire, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The instant the Rosario fell away, Lord Acacia was submerged in a violent torrent of demonic aura. It swirled about him, a fiery red glow, and with a force that even Naruto found impressive. Lord Acacia howled in pain as his F tore and his bones snapped and grew. His transformation was pure agony and he bore it as best he could. From out of his back, two large leathery wings tore from his F and expanded until they were about 20 feet across. His spine cracked and snapped as he grew taller. His ribs and other bones snapped and then mended as he grew hideously larger. Muscles and veins tore and melded back together. His clothes sped apart. His vision darkened as his eyes widened and were pushed back and up into a sloped forehead. His pupils disappeared and his eyes were a single mass of red. His teeth grew wildly until he had a mouthful of long razor-sharp fangs. His fingers and toes grew yellowish and pointed claws perfect for rending F. His ears grew long and pointed, and on the crown of his head 6 short horns appeared. Along the whole area of his body thick black fur sprouted. When the transformation was at last complete, Lord Acacia stood at his full height of 9 feet and looked down at Naruto with a monstrous grin. A vampire's demonic traits grow stronger with time, Acacia growled in a voice that did not belong to any man. The demon in me is strong, boy. Naruto stared up at him and tried not to show any fear. The amount of demonic aura that surrounded Lord Acacia was just plain unbelievable. Alright, note to self. When everyone tells you someone is really scary, listen to them. I don't suppose we could just shake hands and forget this whole thing. Lord Acacia's answer was to bring a fist down on top of his head with thunderous might. A cloud of dirt and earth rose as Naruto's head was slammed to the bottom of a 5-foot-deep crater. Without his cloak, his head would have been said to jelly. Seeing his opponent still alive, Acacia picked him up with a single clawed hand and flung him like a rag doll into the gatehouse. Naruto's body set into it, bringing the structure and most of the gate itself crashing down on top of him. Father, please stop this. Mocha ran in front of him and held out her arms. You've done enough. The monstrous Acacia cast his flattened eyes down at his daughter. I have not even begun yet. Stand aside, Mocha. No. Mocha shouted up to him. I won't let you hurt him. Daughter. The stone rubble that had buried him was suddenly flung aside and Naruto roared with a pure blind fury. He dashed across the courtyard and slammed a fist into Acacia's belly. Naruto had the satisfaction of seeing an almost human look of surprise on his foe's face as he was sent rocketing backwards into the north tower of his castle. His impact tore open a gaping hole in the tower's base and sent cracks running up it. They could all hear the ominous groan of the huge stone tower beginning to give way. Naruto heard it too but paid it no mind as he dropped to all fours and raced in through the hole and into the collapsing tower. Naruto, stop. Mocha called out. She was ignored and soon animalistic roars and the sound of battle came booming out. They could not see the two of them as they fought on. But as they watched, windows exploded and granite blocks were sent flying out of different sections as they would catch a glimpse of an arm or a head as the two seemed to be fighting their way right through the castle. The main doors burst open and the goblins' servants who remained ran out screaming. Some did not bother with the door and fled out of windows or some of the new holes. As the goblins fled past them, the only witnesses to what was happening were Mocha, her mother, and her 2 sisters. I have to stop this. Mocha made for the entranceway but Cocoa grabbed a hold of her arm. Nisan, are you insane? Cocoa screamed at her. For once the girl's fear was plain to see. You can feel their power. You can't get between them. I have to. She yanked free of her little sister's GS. If I don't, Naruto-kun will S. No, he won't. Mai stepped in front of her daughter. He's not going to S. Mocha. How can you know that? Mocha demanded. I know, Mai said sternly. I can't tell you how or why, but I am certain that Naruto will survive this. You can't get involved, none of us can. As strong as we all may be, they are on a whole other level. Trying to interfere will only get you killed or badly hurt. Trust in me and let this play out. But, trust in me, Mai said. And trust in him too. I don't think Naruto is the type to answer easily. As Mai was convincing her daughter not to act, Karua was dancing around waving her arms, cheering wildly as she saw her ancestral home being torn apart. K him daddy. K him. Suck him dry and then eat his little heart. Shut up. Mocha slammed a fist into her older sister's face, sending her flying and finally quieting her. Just then a final portentous rumble could be heard, as the castle began to collapse. Its steepled roofs all began to fall in and then the walls began to give way. The north tower was the first part to go, as the whole structure began to slowly lean forward like a tree just about to fall. It was leaning down towards them. Cocoa neatly and accurately described the situation. Crap. Run. The three of them ran with Mocha scooping up her unconscious sibling. The tower a last snapping crack and finally came tumbling down into the now empty courtyard. Right behind it the other towers began to collapse and the main castle walls fell in with a deafening crash. In less than 5 minutes of fighting, a massive stone castle that had stood for almost 1,000 years had been reduced to rubble. Out of that small mountain of debris and granite blocks Naruto was sent flying. He landed on the edge of the sea cliff and had to sink his hands into the bedrock to keep from going over. He was just getting back to his feet when Akashia leapt out of the ruins to land in front of him. If possible, Lord Akashia was in even more of a rage than he had been. You have destroyed my home, boy. Despite his foe's rage, Naruto managed a grin. I only helped, you definitely get a share of the credit. Akashia brought his fist down and the earth shook. A huge crack formed where he had struck, and before Naruto could do anything he felt himself and the ground he was on begin to plummet. The piece of cliff he was on went vertical and he was tossed off into free fall. Seeing the black water rushing up to greet him, he did the only thing he could, transforming from an 8-tailed vampire into a 7-tailed half-yukai kitsune. The transformation had only just been completed when he hit the water. He and the cliff struck and raised a huge splash. As the stone cliff quickly sunk to a bottom, the waters calmed. There was no sign of Naruto. From the edge of the new cliff, Akashia looked down furiously. He could see no sign of the arrogant boy. Not believing for a second that he might be Akashia stretched out his wings and took flight. He soared downwards towards the water and then banked around into a vast circle about 100 feet above it. High enough to avoid any possible wave or sudden gush of water. He circled, watching the sea. He was not disappointed as he saw Naruto suddenly pop up. He stood there on the water as if it were dry land. He seemed to have mutated from a noble vampire into some type of monstrous bastardization of a kitsune. Akashia also noted he had lost some of his power. Naruto wasted no time and ran through a series of hand signs. He was a fire and wind type, but he had learned jutsus from all 5 elements. He could never wield them as strongly as he could wind and fire jutsus. But with this much chakra at his fingertips, he could still wield them at a level beyond Akage's. Water style, Hydra Dragon missiles. Out of the ocean around him, 8 dragons made of water launched themselves at their target. They quickly and easily reached the needed height. Akashia was caught by surprise by this attack and was forced to twist and dodge to keep from being struck. One after another the damn things came at him. He flapped his wings and moved, jinking up and down and left to right, keeping just ahead of each of them. Though difficult, he was finally able to bank to the right and escape them. Or so he thought. Just as he turned, he felt the pressure of one more coming straight at him. In avoiding the other 8, he had actually been maneuvered toward a 9th that had been created after the other 8. Too late to dodge, he was struck by it full force. He howled in pain as his demonic power leached out of him in the form of electric energy like dozens of lightning bolts. Momentarily weakened, he could no longer fly and fell into the sea. XXXXXXXXXXX. Hurry! Mai shouted. We need to get down to the beach. She and the 3 girls ran down a twisting path. XXXXXXXXXX. Akashia burst up out of the water, gasping for air. Lightning continued to pour from him as pain racked his body. His sodden wings would no longer hold him aloft, but fortunately he was not far from the water's edge. Clamping down on the pain, he worked his muscles and swam to the sandy shore. He dragged himself ashore, still drenched and weakened. If you want, we can end this now. Naruto called as he chakra walked out of the water and onto the beach. He was still in his half-kitsune 7-tail mode. Mocha doesn't want me to KO, so I'm willing to stop now. All I ask is that you acknowledge me as Mocha's husband and just leave us alone. Though feeling diluted and weary, Akashia rose back to his full height. You expect me to acknowledge you? Why shouldn't you? Haven't I proven myself? Akashia eyed him carefully for a moment. You are strong, that much I will admit. But your humanity makes you unfit to be with my daughter. Naruto gave him a hostile glare. I love your daughter more than life itself, and there is nothing I wouldn't do for her. I've even decided to become a vampire so that I can be with her, her entire life. What more do you want? I want my daughter to marry a true-born vampire. Of course, Naruto said bitterly. It would be something I can't do. I don't control what form I was born in. Ask for anything that can be done and it will be. I would do anything for her. Again Akashia stared at him for a moment. I think that I believe you, more is the pity you were born human. I know your race and I know even of you Jinchuriki. Whatever your strengths, your failings are still too great to be ignored. Because you truly care for my daughter, I will forgive the insults you have given me and I will permit you to live. But you will not be allowed to be with my daughter. Naruto transformed back into his vampiric form with 8 tails. In one hand he gathered fire that was white hot. I won't be separated from Mocha, not by anyone, not even her father. If I have to KO you to be with her, then I will. That is exactly what you must do. Akashia began to slowly walk towards Naruto. His huge pace is swallowing up the distance between them. The only way to be with my daughter is to KO me. Naruto held his ground as Mocha's father quickly approached. Is there no other way? He demanded. None. Please forgive me, Mocha. I'm sorry. Just as Akashia reached him, he unleashed a gout of white fire aimed straight at the middle of his chest. The fire struck, and before his eyes the monstrous Lord Akashia dissolved into grey mist. What the hell? Is that how elder vampires s? The mist curled around his flames and flowed along the ground until it reached him and surrounded him and him cloak. Ah! He cried out as he felt ice sobbing through his body. He felt the warmth and strength being sucked out of him. As the cold grew worse, he felt his body become stiff and unable to move. The red chakra cloak began to slowly flicker and fade. As his strength bled away, he heard Lord Akashia's voice coming from all around him. It is a vampire's nature to take strength and vitality from his foe. This is my ultimate attack, the ability to drain you of your very life force without even needing to touch you. Against this, all your strength and defenses are nothing. Unable to move or respond, the cloak disappeared and he pitched forward unconscious. XXXXXXXXXXX. Naruto came to still in his vampiric form but unable to draw out his demonic aura, though he still had a little demonic power available to him. He was currently being held up in the air by one of Akashia's arms. The monstrous vampire was staring down at him with his flat red eyes and an upturned mouth filled with jagged teeth. It is over, boy. You gave me a much better fight than I expected and even cost me my castle. But there was never any way you could defeat me with your power. Admit defeat and agree never to see my daughter again, and I will spare your life. If you defy me once more, I will end you here and now. Make your choice. Naruto looked back at him as he carefully reached into a pocket. I guess MIA knew what she was talking about. It's played out just as she said it would. XXXXXXXXXXX. The previous day. You won't be able to defeat him in combat. Mai said as she took a sip of her tomato juice. But you won't have to. Naruto frowned at her. Look, I don't know how strong Mocha's dad is, but I'm not exactly a weakling myself. Mai nodded. I know that, Naruto. If you were, I wouldn't be here helping you. I'd be telling you to forget my daughter. If you were weak, it would for you to try this. But since you are strong, you should at least be able to give my husband a good fight. Even if he is furious with you, he'll want to have some last words with you before he actually KS you. Thinking you beaten his guard will be down. That will be your one and only chance to use what I've shown you. Looking unhappy, Naruto nodded. If it comes to that point, I'll use it, but I intend to beat him with my own strength. Good. Do your best, she said. But keep the headmaster's gift close by, just in case. XXXXXXXXXX. Naruto took the item from his pocket and into his right hand unnoticed. If you know Jinchuriki, does that mean you know about ninja too? The horned head nodded. I knew ninja long before any of the villages were founded. I knew them in the time of the emperors when their arts were still outlawed and they were all seen as criminals. What of it? Naruto smiled. I'm a ninja. So if you really knew ninja you would know that our greatest weapon isn't raw strength or jutsus. It's deception. With that he slapped the Rosary of Judgment onto his arm and spoke the incantation. Zaros Nivi Athos Trulazul. Using vampiric magic he activated the rosary and formed the seal. What? Too late Lord Akashia realized he'd been tricked. As his vast powers were suddenly sealed back into him he again howled in agony at the transformation. This time he was too weakened and was forced into unconsciousness. XXXXXXXXXX. When he awoke he lying outside the ruins of Castle Akashia surrounded by his family members. Kokoa and Karua were looking at him worriedly while Mocha was a short distance away kissing that boy. What is? Now, take it easy dear, you're not very strong at the moment. He realized he was lying on the ground with his head in his wife's lap. What's going on here? He tried to sit up and was surprised when she easily pushed him back down. She laughed to see the expression on his face. I am afraid you lost husband and all of your powers have been completely suppressed. I am afraid that right now you are only as strong as a very young vampire. She took a hold of his wrist and showed him the rosary of judgment still attached to it. It looked as though it were glued to his skin. Lord Akashia grabbed a hold of it and tried to it free. Only to find it wouldn't come off. I'm afraid it won't come off dear, at least not by your hand. Naruto used a special enchantment that I taught him. His eyes narrowed dangerously. That you taught him. Did you betray me? She continued to smile. I don't think I betrayed you, rather I was acting in the best interests of my family and of my daughter. She loves him very much and I think he is more than strong enough to be a good husband to her and a fine father someday. I was hoping you would see that for yourself, but just in case I gave Naruto my assistance. He sat up and this time Mai did not try to stop him. This changes nothing, I will still not accept him. Well in that case we have a problem, she said pleasantly. How are you going to survive as an elder vampire when you are essentially powerless? What will the other elders do to you if they find out? He blanched. If they found out he would not survive the day. Are you wanting me to be ked? She let out a sigh. Of course not, if anyone had wanted that you would never have awakened. All we want is for you to acknowledge Naruto as Mocha's husband and to let me come back and help you raise the kids. You want to come back? He said in surprise. That's right, maybe after all this you'll be willing to admit that feelings of love can be a strength after all. He considered it. Perhaps, he said doubtfully. Agree or the rosary stays where it is. Mia said. It seems I have no choice, he nodded his head in defeat. Very well, I accept your terms, I will acknowledge him as my son and as Mocha's husband. Mai raised an interested eyebrow. Acknowledging Naruto as son had not been one of the conditions, and he had not intended to do that with Kento. It would seem that Naruto had actually won his respect. Good. She placed his gold Rosario back on the chain around his collar. Tell me something, he asked. Just what sort of enchantment is it? It has the same exact one I cast on Mocha's Rosario when she was just a little girl. She wanted to try living in the human world but was afraid she might pull off the Rosario in a moment of panic or someone else might pull it off by mistake. So I set a special condition that she could not remove it herself and that only someone who loves her would be able to remove it. She laughed. And so you know Naruto was able to remove it almost from the moment they met. Lord Akashia looked at her in horror. So this can only be removed by someone who loves me. That's right. Then I really am doomed. She looked at him and began to laugh. You know my husband, sometimes you really are an idiot. She reached over and easily removed the rosary of judgment. But, Mai, that means you. Yes. Leaning over she placed a gentle kiss on his lips. And I always will. XXXXXXXXXXX. After another series of kisses she leaned against him and sighed. So I guess we'll be going back to the mansion as soon as we straighten everything out with father. Mansion. Mocha nodded. I'm not crazy about going back to that village though. Oh, about that, Naruto suddenly recalled. We won't be going back. We won't. Mocha was surprised. He nodded and rubbed the back of his head feeling a little embarrassed. Yeah, I sort of burned the mansion down when I left, along with a good bit of the village. So you finally got your revenge. Oh no, It was nothing more than a down payment. That debt is still owing, but at least now they understand my true feelings for them. So that means they'll be coming after you. He nodded. If we go anywhere they can reach me, yeah. After all, ninja were originally created to be assassins. So where are we going to live? He gave her a winning smile. Yukai Academy, there's going to be space in the headmaster's place soon. She had more questions, but he cut her off by kissing her again. Questions and explanations could wait. The important thing was that they were together again. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.